Cord's forehead, knocking the boy senseless. He stood over the unconscious boy for a few moments while he pulled up his trousers and strapped his gun belt on, deciding whether or not he should put a bullet in Cord's brain, leaving all three of them dead. Another shot might bring nosy neighbors to investigate. There were 2 small homesteads within 2 miles, so he thought it best to ride out while there was plenty of time. Hesitating briefly to ransack the little house for anything of value, he took another look at the fallen boy, lying motionless. "Hell, I believe I killed him anyway," he muttered. Then, for good measure, he kicked the kitchen stove over and piled the table and chairs over the spilled coals. When satisfied that the fire was burning steadily, he went to the barn and saddled his horse. Leading his late partner's horse, he left the small farm and headed north. A little over a mile down a narrow, dusty wagon track, Nettie Anderson stepped out on her back porch to empty the supper dishwater from her dishpan. Uncertain about the gunshots she thought she might have heard a few moments before, she listened, but there were no more. Probably her young grandson, shooting at a rat, she thought, or a rabbit, although the 2 shots didn't sound exactly the same, as if they came from 2 different guns. She was about to go back inside when she noticed a thick column of smoke wafting up against the fading evening light. She paused to study it for only a moment before calling her son. "Jesse!" "Yes'm," Jesse answered, and walked out to the porch to stand beside his mother. Nettie pointed to the column of smoke. "Does that look like it's coming from Lottie's house?" Jesse squinted as he peered in the direction his mother pointed. "It sure looks like it's coming from Lottie's," he said after a moment. "You'd best jump on your horse and go see about it," Nettie said, genuinely concerned by then. Equally concerned, since his sister lived alone, for most of the time save for her 12-year-old son, Jesse didn't hesitate. As far as he knew, Lottie's no-good husband was away on one of his lengthy absences, so he ran to the corral and hastily put a bridle on one of the horses. Not wishing to waste any more time, he didn't bother with the saddle, jumping on the horse's bare back for the short ride up the road. As he neared the house, he discovered a scene worse than he had anticipated, for it was not a brush fire. The small frame house was ablaze with flames licking the sides and sending up black smoke from the pine boards. At a gallop he entered the barnyard, yelling, "Lottie! Cord!" There was no answer from his sister or his nephew, and there was no sign of anyone outside the house. Jesse didn't hesitate. Sliding off the horse even before it came to a complete stop, he ran, almost stumbling in his haste to reach the door, and plunged through it into the blazing building, still calling for Lottie and Cord. Inside, the room was filled with heavy black smoke, causing his eyes to burn and making it difficult to see and equally difficult to breathe. As he moved across the main room on his way to the bedrooms, he almost fell when he stumbled over a body. Down on his hands and knees then, holding his shirt tail over his nose and mouth, he identified the body as Ned Malone. He had not even known that Ned had returned. In a panic then, he looked to his side and discovered a second body, and knew at once it was Lottie. He moved to her side, crying, "Lottie! Lottie!" But there was no response. She was dead, her skirt and undergarments torn away. "Oh, Lord, no!" he cried in anguish over the still body. "Please, Lord, no!" In the next instant, part of the roof over the kitchen came crashing down on the floor, and he knew it was only a matter of minutes before the rest of the roof collapsed. So he got his arms under his sister's body and struggled to his feet. With only a glance at Ned's body, he thought, "To hell with him," and moved quickly back toward the door. It was only then that he remembered that Cord had not been accounted for, but there was no time to search the smoke-filled dwelling. So he staggered through the open doorway, his lungs screaming for fresh air. As he did, he almost tripped over the outstretched hand of his nephew, startled, for he did not remember it there when he plunged through the opening in the flames on his way in. It could be no one but Cord, but he would have stepped on the extended hand or tripped over it when he entered the smoke-filled house, as he had on Ned's body. Maybe he moved, he thought. Maybe he's alive. He couldn't stop then, however, so he carried Lottie out the front door, across the short porch, and laid her on the ground, away from the burning building. Then he turned again to look at the inferno from which he had just escaped, wondering if he could risk another trip through the flames in hopes that Cord was alive. His common sense told him that the boy was dead, just as his mother, that somehow the heat from the fire had caused his arm to move. But damn it,